Hello, welcome back to Citizen Sleeper. Surprise, it's a Saturday and I am streaming. Didn't stop thinking about this game. I was pretty hyped up and excited after Lyra's 3D stream. Depending on how much we get through, this might be the last episode. So, let's see. Got my comfy Lyra scarf on, made by the lovely Ichigo Maya. Alright, first of all, upgrade available? Yeah, but I can't afford it. Oh, Bliss compete. Flotilla support. Improve the overlook. Study the flux. Can I buy scrap off you? No. We're completely loaded on money, and I'm not quite sure where it came from. Have a look. I don't think Bliss's contract doesn't come through for another couple of cycles, if memory serves. Okay, it comes through next cycle. And that's something I really want to focus on. So I don't want to advance too much today, because I don't want to set off another timer. And mushrooms are available tomorrow as well, which we'll need for yeah, we'll need it for stabilizer. We will be able to harvest as much as possible and then regrow. We only need one from the Gacha. Okay, systems repair and unload supplies. I think we're done with the Pilgrim Seed. Almost. Deliver flux data. Ah, the flux data. That was something, wasn't it? That was back here. Tell you what, we can have this 6. But I won't hand in the data just yet, and I'll help out with this one. That's better. I guess we can hope that it's not a negative. Actually, it's just energy minus, which isn't so bad. At least with energy minus, we can just go and buy some food. With the 1100 chit we now have. Which is frankly just a little ridiculous. No, this is Havenage. It's not what I want. I want the Rotunda. And oh, I can't buy rations. Right, yes, that's right. She stepped on the rations, so I can't buy them anymore. Okay. Well, we'll just overeat and easy. Alright, next job is get mushrooms for a stabilizer. But we might as well sleep in the commune. And end the cycle. Alright, good rolls today. Sleeper, long time. Moritz is smiling at you when you leave, clearly happy to see you again. Moritz, good to see you. Same. He rubs his hands on his jacket. How you been? Working hard. I bet, he grins. Well, you are always welcome to hang out at the bay if you want. He glances about. Actually, that's what I'm here about. I know Bliss said she didn't want to take any more big jobs, but she's changed her mind. Or something, he grins. Because now we have someone looking for a refit of their ship in our bay. You would not believe it. They want their entire ship disarmed. Cutting out defense arrays, weapon lockers, ship-to-ship countermeasures, the whole lot. He leans in. We'll be able to start an arms dealership with all the hardware we'll have up there when we're done. He laughs. Anyway, it's a massive job and we need some hands. Bliss said to go get you. So come on up. Bliss is waiting on you to accept the job. He pauses. It'll be good to have you up there again. He grins. Like old times. Okay. Let's spend a 4. This. Oh, we got one. Okay, thank goodness. Yeah, give me some stabilizer. Fantastic. Now I can go spend all these decent rolls I got on the workshop and for Bliss. When you enter the bay, it is weirdly quiet. Moritz must be out on some errand, and maybe Bliss is prepping the kit? Sleeper. Ankita is drifting at one side of the bay. You missed her completely when you came in. The idea of not seeing Ankita when you entered a room would have seemed unlikely to you several cycles ago, but seeing her without her armor, she seems smaller, less imposing. What are you doing here? I was about to ask you the same thing. She kicks off from the wall and comes a little closer. So what is this? She asks. Come to avenge Ashton or a sleeper? Or just looking for another payout? Her anger is familiar, but quieter than before. Don't start. Start what? You are the one following me up here. She looks away, and you can tell her anger isn't directed at you in particular. It radiates off her like fire. You better be ready to sign, comes a shout from the bay entrance. Because I've got my best repair tech coming up here, especially, and they're going to... Bliss glides in and suddenly stops herself when she sees you and Ankita standing off. Oh, Sleeper, you're already here. Miss Cassetta, this is the tech I was telling you about. Best on the... She stops, looking between the two of you. Wait, do you two know each other? You and Ankita look at each other. We work together. Bliss squints at you both before continuing. Bliss produces slate. Now, Miss Cassetta, if you'd like to sign our damage waiver here, we can start on the decommissioning. She looks at you. My tech here is eager to get started, as am I. Ankita scrawls her signature across the slate. Thank you. Bliss pauses. And everything is okay with the special payment terms we discussed? She gives Ankita a strange smile. All fine, says Ankita, giving you another hard look. Then she kicks off and drifts to the entrance. I'll be in the gimbal, she says, and leaves. Special payment terms? She looks over her glasses at you. Look, Sleeper, there's something I have to tell you. She glances round again. What is she so nervous about? Boy, I sure hope Moritz was joking about selling weapons. This isn't exactly a typical job. Miss Cassetta, I mean, Ankita, she gives you a knowing look, doesn't have the chits to pay us, so we've made a special agreement, she sighs. I'm leaving. Leaving? Keep it down, I haven't told Moritz yet. She looks down, just waiting to break it to him. Don't you tell him either, she stares hard at you. I'll tell him when I'm ready. And I don't want him getting worried about Ankita's history. He can be very protective. You should tell him. Look, all I care is that she is heading for the starboard belt. She looks out at the bay. That's where I'm headed. She turns back to you. Also, I wanted to ask, she stops, unsure, if you'd like to come with us. I can't. No, I've got stuff to do. She interrupts you before you answer. I know things have been hard for you on the eye, and you helped me so much. I asked Ankita if she would carry 2 of us, and she said yes. Moritz will take over the bay anyway, although if you stay, you are welcome to help him run it. I just thought, she sighs, you might be in need of a fresh start as much as I am. She turns away nervously. Think about it anyway. The berth is there. We've got to finish the job first anyway. And with that, she kicks away and heads to the racks, before you can offer an answer. Moments later, Moritz enters with a new cutting torch for the disarming of the ambergris. The starboard belt. You push your thoughts to the back of your mind. Time to get to work. You know, there's probably an ending. Alright. This should be simple enough. Got decent rolls on the engineer. Oh yes, random scrap. Nice. Damn. All done in one cycle. Easy peasy. Amber looks better than she ever has before. Bliss has done an incredible job of cleaning up the hull, and despite the exterior changes being limited, she has the impression of being lighter, somehow sleeker than before. Moritz drifts by. He has been loading up the final equipment onto Amber. Turns out Ankita will be taking her weapons, but packed and ready to sell at the first starboard belt port she hits. Now that Moritz is done, he seems in a kind of a daze, floating back and forth aimlessly. You okay, Moritz? What's that? He turns. Oh, right, yeah. Packed and stacked, he smiles a weak smile. Was hoping Miss Cassetta would let me keep a warhead. For what? He shrugs. I don't know. Just might be a cool thing to have around. Hey, Sleeper. He looks down. Did you know Bliss was leaving? You understand now. She told him. That's why he's like this. I did. He nods drastically. She said this place is mine. He looks up around the bay, like it is suddenly some vast space he doesn't know what to do with. You'll be fine. He looks down at you. Hey, thanks, he smiles. I appreciate you saying that. Not many people believed in me before now. First Bliss, then you. A dark look suddenly crosses his face. Hey, Sleeper, there was something Bliss said. You met your eyes. Are you going too? Before you can answer, Ankita glides into the bay, a massive crate on her shoulder. Sleeper, you coming or what? Bliss is already on board. She stops by the terminal, holding herself in place. Moritz looks at her with a dazed expression. You look at Ankita. She's keeping it together now. She's packed all those bad feelings down someplace where you'll never see them, and built a tough foundation on top. She may not be a mercenary anymore, but you imagine most people would think twice before trying to cross her. Well, she looks at you. I'm not eager to spend another moment of my time on this station unless I have to. She pauses, looking between you and Moritz. She sighs. I'll give you a minute. And she kicks off the crate, taking it to the end of the bay where Amber sits docked. You look back at Moritz. Well, let's go, because I want the ending. Moritz looks like he might pass out. I get it, he steels himself. The right decision. Thank you. Hey, thank you for working with me these past cycles. He smiles a shaky smile. I learned a lot. Hey look, he moves a little closer. Got to find what you need. I did. Bliss, this place, you. This was everything I needed. He sniffs. I was in a bad place, and this pulled me out. Oh, Moritz. He looks away. You go find it. And Kita comes back across the bay, the final crate stowed. You coming then, Sleeper? I'm coming. She nods. Well, okay then. Come on over with your things and I'll get you settled. She pauses. I'm sure Amber will be happy to have you. You both glide away from Moritz, his eyes wet, but a smile put on his face. He waves as you go, dwarfed by the vast bay, and you hope he will make it, even though you know somehow that he will. Nkita helps you through the lock, onto the Amber, and the sense of familiarity is overwhelming. You think about all the time you've spent working on these corridors, listening to these sounds, diagnosing those hisses. Nkita gives you a minute before she speaks. Look, Sleeper, I'm not going to go back over everything that's happened. She sighs, trying to put that behind me. He stops, unsure of how to proceed. It's okay, the past is done. She nods. He stops. Thank you. I don't know if we can begin again, but we can move on. He sounds pained, tired. As you move down the corridors towards the burst, she tries again. I don't think it was that I thought the wrong things about who or what you are. I think I just didn't think. Of you, I mean. I didn't think about how things might affect you. And I realized I've been like that for a long time. Focused, stubborn, willing to get the job done at any cost. She pauses. This is hard for her, but you don't want to interrupt. Well, I'm sick of paying the cost. I'm sick of being used as an extension of something bigger, something crueler than me, and having that cruelty, that violence flow through me. I just want to be me for a while. She looks down, or at least figure out who that is. She takes a deep breath. So what I'm saying is, you can get off at the first port we hit in the belt. I wouldn't blame you. It's a smart move. He pauses. Or you can stick around and we'll see if we can find a way to make a space for all of us. She looks away, her energy exhausted. I'll think about it. She nods. Nothing else. This is you. She turns you to a small room with a bunk and a porthole to the flickering lights outside. The outside wall is sloped like a roof, and tucked beneath it is a small desk and terminal. Bliss is next door, though I think she's in the hold right now. She said she wanted to make sure the warheads are locked down tight. And Nkita observes your nervous response. I mean, they are, obviously. She gives you a look. Nkita slips away, and you look around the room. You go over to the porthole and place a hand on the wall and feel Amber purr. You think you're going to like it here. You stay like that for a while, looking out the porthole, one hand on the wall, feeling the ship. It is through that porthole that you will watch the eye getting smaller and smaller, drowning in the black. At some point, it will become so small that you could hold it between your thumb and index finger, and then it will wink out, and you won't be able to see it anymore. And it is at that moment you will finally exhale and collapse onto your bunk. In moments you will be asleep, and when you wake up, it will be among friends, on your way to somewhere new. Oh, that's a sweet ending. Like, I didn't hate Ankita at all. Alright, let's load back in. I just noticed it goes like around and around. Like that, huh? Okay. Oh, let's deal with the ambergris again. Aha. Yeah. Didn't get everything I needed this time. Nice. Oh, it is RNG, I guess. Alright. Go back to the apartment, I guess. And I want to see how much this actually heals up. Because if it's 2, then... No, it's just 1. Okay. That's 1 more cycle I don't have to spend using the stabilizer on. Alright. Yeah, we can use the 1 on this. That's easy. There we go. And we got a random scrap back. Nice. You okay? I did. You do a great job. Try not to click too much. Staying. Moritz looks like he might pass out. Sleeper, are you sure? Are you doing this for me? I'm staying for me. Moritz nods. Alright then, you're staying. He grins. Ankita comes back across the bay, the final crate stowed. You staying then, Sleeper? I'm staying. She nods. Well, okay then. 1 less mouth to feed. She pauses. I'm not gonna go over everything, yada yada. Hope you find what you're looking for here. You both watch in silence as Amber's drives fire up. Guess this is our place now. There's Moritz, the weight of everything suddenly hitting him. Your place. He smiles. Okay, but I'll need some help from time to time. You both stay for a while to watch Amber, Bliss and Ankita leave. And then Moritz goes to the racks to finally implement a new organizational system, and you head out, promising to be back to check on things soon. As you glide around the soft curve of the hub, you catch glimpses of the distant stars flickering through the windows. They are beautiful, it's true, but by now you think of them as a distraction. In your time on the Eye, you've realized there's nothing out there waiting for you. No fresh starts and no bright futures. Just a whole load of problems you haven't found yet. No, your place is here, among the people you know and the problems you know. You wish Ankita and Bliss the best of luck out in the belt, but as you do, you focus on the Eye and the vast spinning rim that rotates around its hub, on its building and flashing lights, and on its people and places. This is your home now, and for now, it contains all the futures you need. Next round is yours. Moritz arrives at the table with a couple of steel drink canisters. typical of the hub's only bar, the Gimbal Lounge. He settles into the webbing beside the table and clunks him down onto the magnetic table. This place, you have decided, is ridiculous. A rapidly spinning cavernous sphere, the gimbal's weak gravity, just like the gravity at the eye's rim, is created by gut-wrenching rotation. The interior surface of the sphere is the gimbal's floor, which descends towards the equator where one long bar loops around the entire circumference. Tumbling out from that central ring are an array of booths and seating arrangements, equipped with all kinds of harnesses and webbing to keep customers in place. Those harnesses are there because the gimbal doesn't quite spin up fast enough, and you watch as the clientele bounce towards the bar in lazy arcs, or shift from table to table with graceful leaps. "What are you thinking?" asks Moritz, noticing you staring out into the gimbal. "How weird this place is." Moritz glances around, as if for the first time. "Yeah, this never used to like coming here." Moritz takes a drink and stretches. "So Sleeper, you sticking around?" "I have things to take care of." Moritz nods. "Yeah, thought you might." Moritz rubs the back of his head. "One cycle at a time, that's how we'll take it. Nice and easy." You aren't sure if he's talking to himself or you. "So let's start already." Moritz laughs. Alright. He lifts a drink for a toast. "To the next cycle," he pronounces, and knocks it back. Later, when you finally leave the gimbal, Moritz is still laughing. You help him out of the spinning gimbal and back into the hub, sending him on his way home to the bay. You pause for a moment to watch the stars as they spin and spin around the eye. Smile to yourself and think of Bliss and Ankita out there somewhere, among those points of light. To the next cycle. Ooh, rotated me. Okay. Here we go. Down we go. No, want some food. Grab that. And if there's scrap in... No, they're away. Okay. Can't buy any scrap off them. Okay, I'm thinking. I have a stabilizer. Wouldn't mind planting these again. I didn't get what I wanted. But we'll spend a 6. Okay, we got what we needed. Leave. Put those in. Start growing more mushrooms. Synthesize another stabilizer. Now we can start working on these DLC missions. I don't think they're DLC, I think they're... What are they exactly? I wonder. Just extra content that got added? Oh, okay. That's that. Use scrap to heal up again. Get every cycle I'm not using a stabilizer is a good cycle. And we'll end. I don't need a good roll on that one, so I can just use a 1. No. Use a 3. That should be fine. Alright, let's chat with Aki. I see you've been contributing. Aki stands next to you at the dust house window. I was unsure of what to expect when we joined the flotilla on its voyage to the Eye, but after the journey across the system, then the quarantine, and the flux reaching all the way out here too, Aki stops herself. Thank you. She bows a little. The other ships have only been interested in sending us supplies, but we grow all we need. She gestures at the dust house. What the dust house needs, that is the problem that concerns us. She smiles and turns to you. Shall we go inside? I'd love to. Aki smiles. Come. She taps away at a panel by the window. Seems only fair that after your help with the support systems you get to see what it is you're maintaining. Aki leads you to an opening beside the window. You pass through a dark changing room. You notice Aki is sliding on an oxygen mask and visor. She looks at the swirling dust inside. Inside, it's like Ember's Steppe. Thin atmosphere, constant dust storms. Nothing that will bother you. She passes you a mask. The dust isn't exactly pleasant to inhale, however, so take this. You hold it to your face. She leads you through a sort of decontamination tunnel with its fizzing panels and of purifying light, and then through into the dust house. You immediately, the wind and heat hits you. You feel the rough waves of dust scattering across your face and peer through the amber murk. Your feet slide on shifting piles of sand. Welcome to Steppe, or an emulation of it, at least. Aki's voice sounds distant, echoey. The terraforming process only managed to provide a limited atmosphere around the moon, one which is now slowly escaping. Been like that since I was born, so I got used to the idea. You catch her bright eyes through the amber dust. So did everything else that lives there. You feel something hard beneath your feet, beneath the sand, like a coil of rope. Look down. You instinctively look down and see something pale and twisted poking out of the sand. Aki sees you looking. This is steppe silk. It's one of the plants we established on Steppe. She kicks away some red sand. Like any bast fibre, it can be retted and woven into clothes. I'm wearing some made from it myself. It's one of many species adapted to steppes and Solheim collapse, which is why it must be preserved. She stares out into the swirling dust. It is much a refugee as we are, and the dust houses hold hundreds of other species. Look at the pale, unassuming root, threaded thickly through the sand. Aki watches you silently. Had enough? It'll be easy to speak outside. Aki leads you back out through the decontamination tunnel, which blasts the dust from both of you with a burst of metallic tasting air, and into the changing room. Aki hangs up both masks, patiently waiting questions. Why bring plants with you? These are more than just plants. This is our way of life. Aki looks exhausted. The steppe silk cannot survive in any other conditions, neither can the others, and steppe itself. Aki pauses, pulling a shawl around her. She looks small and pale inside its layers. Steppe was already a doomed world, she sniffs. When Solheim gave the terraforming contract to Cybele, they believed they could build an atmosphere, but the moon's erratic orbit made it impossible to maintain. By the time of Solheim collapse, the atmosphere was already fading, and Cybel's attention was on Ember's hearth. After the collapse, Cybel fell too, its researchers scattered across the moons and any central organization lost. Since then, my parents' generation works tirelessly to survive, to adapt what we had to the failing moon. The steppe silk, the other adapted species, are the life's work of the steppe's colonies. So when the flux started to collapse our computer systems, corrode and destroy our life support, our water supply, our agriculture, we had to leave. Aki sits heavily on a nearby bench. Soon, the only traces of steppe will be on this ship. Aki begins to cry, quietly. You're unsure of what to do. Just sit beside her. You sit on the bench beside her as she sobs. You understand why this ship, why the refugees from steppe are so different. Their world was already dying when the flux arrived. Ember's steppe is a terraformed moon, a partial atmosphere, established colonies, agriculture. And yet, when the flux event started, its people had to leave. You think of the eye and the delicate web of decaying systems it rests upon. What hope does a ruined station have against a wave that corrupts, corrodes, and collapses? Aki interrupts your thoughts, rubbing her eyes. Not everyone left. There wasn't room to take all the people and fill the dust houses. My parents, their friends, and many others stayed. She sniffs. We carried the steppe for them. Perhaps there is hope. We learn not to talk of hope on a dying world. There is meaning for them, and any future they can build with the time they have. She stands up. I want you to understand the importance of these dust houses, of what they contain. She leads you back out into the corridor. If the flux events continue to reach out to the eye, we need to build protections to ensure their safety. Aki meets your eye. What about the people? Aki looks away. We aren't idiots, Sleeper. We chose to carry this burden. We will survive. These dust houses are already decaying. I've seen it. She stares into the dust. We had thought that they would last longer, but that last flux event... Help us. Aki looks at you. Please. I will. When you are ready to begin the preparations for reinforcing the dust houses, we need to be ready for the next flux event. Aki's eyes shine with the last of her tears. She takes a breath. I'll see you soon. Aki drifts down the corridor, leaving you alone once more at the viewing window, watching the ragged, delicate traces of the moon known as Ember's steppe. Oh, there's more to do here, huh? Interesting. Okay. If I give you the data, what's going to happen, huh? Sleeper, come look at this. Peak is poring over one of the displays of the makeshift decoding suite that they have set up on the Climbing Briar's cargo bay. On the screen, a clump of data pathways, like an ingrown root ball, has started to untangle. This is an existing node, corrupted by the flux event. It's totally twisted up. They glance at you to check you are listening. But inside, you watch as the unwinding pathways leave behind patterns of negative spaces, like shadows staying behind despite their caster leaving. There's a whole nother data set. Peak's eyes shine bright in the pale screen light. The flux event somehow seeds this data deep into the gaps of the node, wrapping them around it. I don't get it. Peak looks crestfallen. Think of it like resin poured over an object, filling all its gaps and cracks, and then hardening into place. You watch the screen, the pattern of shadows becoming obvious now as each layer of pathways is pulled away. The flux event itself really did a number on unprotected nodes like this one. Most of the eye's systems are screened against radiation and interference. But those exposed nodes? Peak makes a ripping motion with their hands. Torn apart. Peak points to a thick tangle of threads on the screen. Look here, it looks like it's been tangled purposefully, but it's actually that all points within the node have been randomly rearranged. It's as if the node was a bag of ball bearings and the flux shook them. Pathways tried to account for the rearrangement once the system came back, hence the tangle. Peak pauses as the node continues to unwind. Although, Peak muses, it was less like shaking a bag of ball bearings and more like making them all simultaneously occupy a superposition of every possible position in the bag before locking them back into a new configuration. They smile sheepishly. That's a technicality. This sounds like some type of time warp thing, right? Because I'm out here getting different endings. But also that's kind of what like electrons actually do. I don't know. It's been a long time since. Actually, it's been over like a decade since I was in university for physics, so it's a long time ago. So what is the flux? We know it is a wave, one with exotic effects. That's all. Peak runs a hand through the hair. The question is not so much what the flux is, but what's causing it and where it's coming from. Peak turns away from the screen, meeting your eye. And there's something else. They pause. Have you spoken with the refugees? A little. Peak lowers their voice instinctively. What they are reporting, massive system failures, cascading collapses of life support, of terraforming systems, and total data corruption. Peak swallows. The flux shouldn't do that. It can fundamentally rearrange the structure of systems, especially those poorly shielded. But totally collapsing heavy-duty industrial systems, fail-safes and all, that doesn't make sense. Those kinds of systems are built for deep space, for solar flares and radiation. The flux might penetrate them, but any reconfiguration should have been repairable. Peak looks back at the screen, where the decoding node lies almost fully open. A shadow pattern of the negative space that existed within its scrambled interior darkens the screen, like a set of bruises showing the pattern of the object that made them. I need to look into something. I have an idea of what might be causing this wave, triggering the flux, but I need some time to research it. Can I help? Peak shakes their head. Sorry, Sleeper, but I want to keep this to myself for now. If you do need something to do, the flotilla could surely do with the help. From what I heard from Ish, things are tense there. I'll look into it. Good. Give me some time, Sleeper. Peak turns back to their console. I have some answers soon enough, I hope. You take one last glance at the uncoiling node as you leave, the dark shapes it leaves behind somehow troubling. You try to shake them from your mind. There are things to be done elsewhere. Okay, so now that's on the timer. I figured it would either start a timer or start counting down. Alright then. Let's help out this ship as well. Seems like a red thing. Why is it red? The more attention you seem to be gaining. Okay. There is a loose crowd around the supplies you have unloaded, and a tense mood brewing among them. You sit nearby on the edge of the shuttle's docking tunnel, resting. Further away, crews from Ember's Song continue their lives as usual, coming and going, trading, discussing. There is a quiet efficiency to the hub, set up as a common space for the swarm of small ships from Ember's Song that are part of the flotilla. Unlike Herf or Steppe, there is no one capital ship for this moon's refugees, just a mass of individuals travelling in concert. We told Herf we didn't want their scraps. The jeering voice comes out of the small crowd nearby. What's this? Peter. You turn to see a gaunt, pale man wearing the industrial work gear you've seen many of the Song refugees wearing. You hear me? His supplies are to help. He smirks. Oh, how noble of you, coming out here to help us singers. There is a rumble of anger around the crowd. We agreed to join the flotilla for joint protection. We did not agree to Ember Herf using the flotilla to secure the control of the moons. You realize Peter is addressing the crowd as much as he is addressing you. With the cordon down, our crews are more than able to acquire what is needed from the Eye. What is owed is restitution for keeping us restrained. God, I hate this guy already. Okay. He pats one of the crates you unloaded. What we need, we will take. Sol wants to cooperate. Sol is a farmer. Even the people of Song know that he was simply the sole survivor of Earth's leadership. His authority means nothing. Peter looks around the crowd. Earth think they can buy us, but remember the past. A rumble of agreement runs through the crowd. He smiles at them. Take the supplies if you wish, of course. We're not wasteful. Peter approaches you directly. The crowd tentatively moves forward, and by the time he reaches you, they are already dragging away crates and distributing the contents. Not one for shooting the messenger, Sleeper, says Peter as he approaches, but we cannot concede to Herf here, not for a moment. I don't understand. I can see that. Peter sits beside you on the docking tunnel's lip. What was your plan, Sleeper? Unload the supplies and wait for someone to start throwing them back at you? He nods at the crowd rifling through the crates. Because that's what's about to happen. So I should thank you? Peter bows a little. My pleasure. What do you think happened to the crew of the shuttle? He shakes his head. They were chased out of this place. Why do they hate Herf? We, Peter says with emphasis, do not hate Herf. We simply do not trust them. Do you know anything about Ember's Moon, Sleeper? Or were you planning to wander into this flotilla totally blind, an objective outsider offering help? He rolls his eyes. Educate me then, asshole. He smiles. It would be my pleasure. I'm going to assume you know the basics. The gas giant Ember has 7 moons. The 3 biggest are Ember's Steppe, Ember's Song, and Ember's Heart. He winks. We can cover the 4 sisters next session. Steppe was the first to be settled, a contract old Solheim gave to the terraformers, Cybele systems, when they first claimed the Helion system. That's way back when. Steppe was a testing ground, and like most testing ground, it didn't turn out too well. A partial atmosphere slowly slowing off each orbit, a dysfunctional ecosystem, and a whole load of dust-clogged settlers. The place is a miserable desert long past its best before date. So Cybele moved to Herf, where they redoubled their efforts. The subsurface ocean and some balmy tidal heating helped, allowing them to build a real atmosphere, a real habitable world. A fact that the typical Herf colonists won't ever let you forget. How did Cybele achieve such a thing, you might wonder? Well, that's where we come in. It's the same old rule of secrecy, the one humanity built our universe around. Peter claps a hand to his chest in mock pride. My moon, Ember's Song, is a sulfur-soaked rock cover in volcanoes, tidally heated by its inner orbit to sweltering temperatures. Exactly the kind of crucible you need to fuel a terraforming project. Energy, industry, fuel. Song provides the raw materials for Herf, Peter grimaces. Willingly or not. And Crucible requires people to run it, us singers. born into a flaming pit and asked to stoke it so others might live in paradise in the making. That's what we had to endure until Solheim brought everything down. Peter rattles off his speech from memory, and you wonder how many times he has delivered it. No Solheim, no contract. No contract, no Cybele, and no Cybele meant 3 moons suddenly independent. Peter shakes his head. It was war, Sleeper. Sometimes hot, sometimes cold, and unsurprisingly, Herf and Steppe came out of it better than us. Oh, okay, he's just mad he lost the war then. Yet, Peter holds up a hand. They need us, Sleeper. Always have, and so we are the linchpin. We are the centre around which the moons orbit, not swirling ember. We have resisted takeovers, sieges, and expansions, and now we'll resist this. Half of the people on these ships think the flux was caused by Herf, intentionally or otherwise, and I have to say, some cycles I agree. So before you come here and hand out supplies like a good soldier, maybe educate yourself? Oof. But you abandon song. Peter bristles. I want you to imagine what it is like to live on an airless volcanic rock, when every system that sustains you starts shutting down. He spits and wipes his sleeve across his mouth. We abandoned nothing. Some stayed, others left. But we will reclaim Ember as soon as the flux fades, or ends. We've weathered worst. The flotilla should be united. Have you been listening? Peter's voice raises immediately. We don't want to be united, Sleeper. Being united by Herf means living under them. Ooh, he's space nationalist. Ooh, goody. That's a good one. We won't keep you from the docking axis, Sleeper. No one here has the authority for that. But watch yourself here. Try to remember that the Eye is just another in the long list of people who have tried to control us. You are too stubborn. Stubbornness, I have found, is a quality in these times. Peter sighs. Look, we are many, and we have many needs. Ships come to this docking axis for repairs, for requisitions, for friendship. You can provide these as well as any singer. If you want to help in your own name, Sleeper, not in that of Herf. Peter shakes his head. Carry that name here and you will lose all trust. Bear as we are, act in your own name alone. Peter puts a hand on your shoulder and stands. Hope I didn't just waste my time here, Sleeper. And with that, he walks away, back to the shrinking crowd that is distributing the last of the supplies amongst the crew present. You watch them pass the food and water between them. No signs of conflict between the crews, just a careful distribution of resources. Peter chats with a few crews, each of them casting looks in your directions, ones that reveal little about the singer's intentions. You stand. It seems the tensions on the flotilla run much deeper than you expected. This won't be easy. Okay, they want spores and a ship mind, of all things. Let's see. Could go out and get spores on the next cycle. Could just buy a ship mind, honestly. It's no skin off my back at the moment. Where is it? Here. I want to buy a ship mind. Also want to buy some food. My usual stall. And then they want spores as well. Unfortunately, I also want spores. If they want 2 spores and 1 ship mind, I think that's I think I actually have that now. All of them. They want 3, okay. That's fine. You can rest for now then. Let's think. Tomorrow I'm down to flickering. Don't have the scrap, so I'll stabilize it first. And end cycle. Oh damn, look at those rolls. Oh, baby. Alright. Right, this should be enough to shut up the singers. I don't want to hear a fucking peep out of you. Twats. Here's your fucking shit mind. You're lucky I'm rich and can afford it. As you cross the axis looking for a shuttle to take you back to the ruined cordon, you spot Peter standing at the edge of the central hub. Something about the way he is leaning across the rail, looking down on the axis and towards the blinking lights of the flotilla beyond make you pause. He's completely still, his head drooping low, his shoulders hunched high. Let's approach him. You lean on the railing a little way from Peter, leaving a gap between you. This close you can see the blank stare in his eyes, the way his hands hang limply in front of him. He takes a minute to notice you. Sleeper, he inhales sharply. Still hanging around? Trying to be useful. Peter smiles a tight smile, but it doesn't turn to face you. That a sleeper thing? Needing to be useful? It's a me thing. It would make sense. Peter closes his eyes. Tools need to be used. Ooh. How about you shut the fuck up? Peter stands back from the railing. Who invited you, Sleeper? Who said you could come here? You think because the Hearthians decided to name you their errand boy we have to put up with you? We don't want you here. We don't need you. His eyes burn with rage. Go home, you stupid machine. Oh. A second after he shouts that final line, he collapses in on himself, staying upright but all the energy going out of his body. He slumps back against the railing, his eyes closed once more. You wait. After a while he speaks. I'm tired, Sleeper. Tired of everything. Tired of the empty paternalism of Hearth. I'm tired of the paranoid whining of the crews. I'm tired of the endless cycles that look the same, smell the same, feel the same. I'm tired of running, of hiding, of fixing every shitty thing that breaks out here. His shout echoes a little into the hub, but few stop to look. He looks down at his feet. Don't take it out on me, arsehole. Peter doesn't react. He stands. I'm going to go. He looks at you and sniffs. Get some sleep. Good. Peter nods slowly, turning away. He raises a hand and drifts away towards the center of the hub. You turn back to the railing, not wanting to watch him go. Seeing him like this, you prefer not to stare. The traffic of the Axis rumbles on as you watch, under an endlessly shining sun. The same air recycled through all of these lungs, the same dust gathering speck by speck on the windows. Take a sharp breath, stand straight and get moving, before the inertia of it all gets to you too. Let's see, now they just want to socialise and whatnot. Okay. Okay, we have a bunch of engineer work, so I guess we'll just do a bunch of engineer work. That's a +3 instead of +2, so this is the one we'll go with. Let's chat with Aki. You and Aki stand side by side at the viewing window in silence. The dust swirls and you glimpse the twisted root system of the steppe silk through the ochre haze. After all these cycles, you feel a strange connection to a world on which you had never set foot. Aki shifts from foot to foot, but seems restless, eager to speak, but unsure of what to say. Dust houses look good. Aki smiles at you warmly. They do. She pauses and turns back to the window. What is the value of all this? She asks suddenly. Of preserving a world we have left behind. Conservation. Aki is silent for a moment. These creatures should be protected, yes, but for us, their conservation is conditional. We keep them alive because we need to use them. I can't pretend we are conservators when we are able to harvest as much as we are able. Aki paces away, lost in thought. I'm grateful to you for helping protect the dust houses, for ensuring this slide into decay is delayed, even averted. Now I find myself in an impasse. The stability of the dust houses changes things. It makes me aware of how blinkered we have been. Aki stops to look at you. Her posture somehow different. If the ecosystems of steppe, if its people cannot grow to meet the future, why preserve it? She frowns. Are we just slaves to the preservation of what came before? Not slaves, inheritors. Aki nods, but the weight of this inheritance is heavy. Aki comes close. Hold your hands in hers. We must change. We must change to live. She smiles. I've seen that in you. The steppe, these people, this ship, they serve more than heritage, than history. They should serve the future. She takes a breath. There are those in this flotilla that need clothes, that need food, that can benefit from the gifts of the steppe's ecosystem. I want you to invite them. Can you do that for me? Of course. I know that Soul sent you, she smiles. You can tell him Aki, captain of the wind's long shadow, invites all people of the flotilla to come. Captain? She smiles. You never asked. Aki steps away. You want to know about the flux, no? About its purpose, its origins? She smiles. You wish to protect your home, as we could not. I'm afraid I don't have much to tell you. It's an exotic wave of sorts, an energy that passes through matter. It shifts the very charged particles which run through our electrical systems. It's possible to shield against it, as you would radiation, but as we have done with the dust houses, but only while it's weak. The flux event here was much like the first ones we found in Ember's steppe. Localized, destructive, but bearable. But in time, its strength grew. I don't know if it will be the same here, but... She pauses. It is coming from the center of the system, from the close orbit of Helion's star, H1. That is all we could uncover. She is silent for a moment, unsure of what to add. I'm sorry I cannot offer more, but you are always welcome on this ship. I hope I'll see you when others come. She squeezes both your hands. I hope this ship, these dust houses, can be more than a museum. I hope they can be a home. With this, she turns and leaves, and you feel that the word home resonating within you like a struck bell. Okay, now I just need to hang out with these dudes for a bit. And it's engineer jobs as well, so that's cool. Alright, rest up. Now, let's see. Check the mushrooms real quick. How are we? Still waiting until next cycle. So let's do a bunch of engineer work. A scrap item. Cool. Alright, let's grab some food. We can heal up with the scrap. Where am I? Yep. And they won't be back for another 4. Okay. Self-repair, and end their cycle. Jeez, look at these rolls we're getting. Beautiful. Alright, you know what, we can leave that for now. We only need 2 on this. Okay, Peter, what bullshit do you have to say this time? Sleeper, Peter calls to you across the axis. He is standing by the same railing as you saw him last time, and he beckons you over. I've been hearing things. He gives you a sidelong look. Bad things? Peter smiles. No, at least not entirely. He rubs his hands together nervously. You wait for him to speak. You know, on Song, I was a teacher. He glances at you, anticipating a response. Really? Peter sighs. Don't sound so surprised. Mechanical engineering, it's an essential subject on a moon where a single mechanical failure could mean the death of hundreds. He looks at the ground. The heat, the atmosphere, the radiation, all of it is hostile to us. My students knew this. Their work, their training, was respected. As long as they were careful and respected Song itself, themselves, they could have their choice of colony placements. They were always in demand. That meant I was respected, surrounded by friends and colleagues, always able to call in favours and repay them like for like. He frowns. Song colonies are small, close-knit. We look after our own. When the flux events started hitting, colonies went dark overnight. We all knew what those kinds of failures meant. Like always, we lost more people than any other moons. He balls his hands into tight fists. Not a single one of my students left Song. Our future was cut off. Just like that. My future. He flexes his hands. What am I out here? What use am I? Song is a fading memory, and the systems we built there are useless outside its orbit. How am I supposed to move on from here? He looks at you, eyes steely grey and glinting. Find someone to teach. Peter pauses, thinking. You don't give up, do you, Sleeper? You just keep going. Peter shakes his head. You remind me of a student of mine, one who entered the program from one of the smaller colonies. They didn't have the advantages of some of the others, but they were stubborn as hell. By the end of the program, they were the most skilled of their peers. They didn't get the best assignment, maybe because they didn't spend much time making the kind of connections that would help you get there. But that didn't matter, because I knew they would make the best of anything they set themselves to. Peter is smiling now, buoyed up by a little memory. Singers are stubborn, Sleeper. We aren't going to change easily. We won't forgive easily, or take help easily. But we'll hold strong. You can count on us for that. Peter stands from the railing. When you see Sol again, you can tell him that. You can tell him how the crews of Ember Song operate. Tell him we will resist. If that means resisting her imperialist ambitions, so be it. If it means resisting the flux, so be it. And if it means to, as you have, help others resist those same pressures, so be it. Peter smiles, and then tell him to leave us alone. He turns, his step lighter, and heads off towards the centre of the Axis hub. Oh jeez, I just can't bring myself to like him at all. I get where he's coming from, but what a twat. Now give me good mushrooms, I swear to God, give me good mushrooms. I hate you so much. At least we got the spores for another grows. Another attempt at growing. Alright, 3 cycles in heat until peak is done. When you arrive at the bridge of the Pilgrim Seed, Sol is waiting for you. You wouldn't believe the messages that have come through in these past few cycles, Sleeper. He smiles. The ship from Steppe has sent a goodwill gesture, a whole cache of supplies from their own farms. He smiles. I'm not sure how we'll use them, but the gesture is a welcome one. Song, meanwhile, are apparently accepting supplies again, although a little reticently, if I may say so. Sol smiles. I shouldn't expect them to change anytime soon, it should be said. And what I'm wondering, Sleeper, is what part you had in all of this. Sol eyes you, waiting for an answer. I helped where I could. I've come to expect that of you, Sleeper. He smiles. You look at Sol, his eyes bright and eager, and wonder what he sees in you. Are you a tool to be used, or an ally? It can be hard to tell. I want to show you something. Sol squeezes your shoulder, turning you to face the lift. He leads you along the axis of the ship, towards the engines, a clanking of his suit accompanied by a constant hammering and welding that fills the echoey bulkheads of the Pilgrim Seed at all hours. With the cordon lifted and shuttles able to go out and salvage scrap and barter for supplies. Ate a lot of rice for lunch. Trying to not burp directly into the microphone. The ship has become a place of transformation, moving towards some state yet to be revealed to you. Look at Sol. What is his plan here? What is he preparing the Pilgrim Seed for? Or are his eyes simply too focused on making it through the next cycle? Suddenly, Sol stops in front of a huge bulkhead door, like the seal on the front of a dry dock hangar. He signals to someone in a cabin high up, attached to the wall, and they begin the process of opening it up. The Pilgrim Seed was built as a short-range freight carrier, you know? The amber warning lights on the bulkhead door send spinning shadows across Sol's face. We built it to ship our entire harvest from thousands of farms to the silos at Pasero. When we realized we would need to leave, it was the biggest ship we could muster. Sol wraps on a metal plate, and somehow she's carried us all the way out here. We? Farmers, mostly. From outside the city and the edges. He flexes his shoulders beneath his suit. We saw it coming first, I guess. Knew it was time. Others didn't want to believe. I was a farmer. Had a whole load of land and people to run it. And my people helped convert this place for the long trip. He looks at his feet. Others led, organised the evacuation, and debated the plan. What happened? Not one of those folks made it. Sol rubs his forehead. We were out in the black a long time before we got here, Sleeper. Things happen. The upshot is I was chosen to take over. I guess my crew trusted me, and I knew the ship. I argued, reminded them that I'm no leader, and that I'm sick, but, well, when service chooses you. A loud klaxon sounds, indicating the bulkhead doors are ready to open. They groan as they slide back, the metal squeals echoing through the vast ship, bouncing off its hard-plated walls. At first all you see is darkness, then the lights go on in huge strips that stretch back and back as far as you can see. Space in front of you, a vast bay, bigger than any you have ever seen, is empty. When we left Earth, we didn't have time or resources to convert the entire ship. Sol begins leading you into the massive space. So much of the freight space we sealed away, shut down. But now, we have time, we have resources. We stabilized here, at least for the moment. Sol turns to you. Now is the time to make use of all this. What are you planning? What do you think happens next for the Eye, Sleeper? Sol sighs. The flux has already hit one part of the station, and from what I know, it'll hit again. On Earth, we lost everything. There isn't much time, Sleeper, but there is enough time to do something. Think of the number of people we can fit on here. The farming stacks, the housing. Hell, we can plant some of those mushrooms you love so much. Wants to evacuate some of the Eye? Okay. This is the way forward. The only way. We need to fill this ship with able bodies and head towards the starboard belt. I thought the Eye was your destination. It was, until the flux hit here. Now it's just another stop. I'm glad of the chance to resupply and salvage, but we need to go further out. I want you to help me. You know the Eye, you have connections, and you can work hard. I've seen it. Sol meets your eye. I know you are like me, Sleeper. You didn't choose service, but it chooses you. Can this work? It has to, Sleeper. It's nothing else. I know it's a lot to think about, Sleeper. Trust me. Sol begins to lead you back out of the bay. But think of what we can do here. The flotilla can't last forever. We need more than just farmers to make this work. We need to build a new world for ourselves. I've heard that out there in the belt there are people who have been setting up since the collapse, making something of their own. That's our future, tucked away in those rocks, far from all this. Sol sighs. I didn't bring my people here just to let them die somewhere new. Sol crosses back over the threshold of the bay and signals for the operator to close it up. The door groans, and Sol waits for it to stop. Think about it, Sleeper. Sol claps an arm on your back. But don't wait too long. This is happening soon. And he leaves you there, in the silence of this vast bay, your head spinning with the thought of leaving the Eye. I think I want to upgrade Engage next. But that is that for now. Feed the stray. And end the cycle. Oh boy, look at all of those really good rolls. I guess we can help out here then. Build the still. Re-rolling all of those, perfect. Tyler stands back from the newly finished still and tub, hands on hips. Look at this, she grins. The overlooked distillery in all its glory. She squeezes you around the shoulders. Thank you. What's next? There is an issue. Tell me. Well, Griol the drink, as you probably guessed, is named after Griol the mushroom. That's what gives it that golden colour and earthy taste. The alcohol is infused with the mushrooms along with a mix of spices. That means you need Griol caps to make Griol, but no one wants to supply us. The distilleries on the Greenway are taking all the stock from the farms out there, so it's hard to get a single cap across Founder's Gap. However, I have an idea. He smiles. We can grow our own Griol caps here, she gestures at the increasingly equipment-filled back room. And I can bring you mushrooms. Tyler gives you a pitying look. Where's your vision? Any outside shipper means they take a cut. Okay, maybe not you, but someone somewhere takes a cut. Tyler puts a hand on the still. We still have to set all this up. How hard can growing mushrooms be? They don't need light, they barely need soil. We can do this. She pauses. Or at least we could if we had something to grow them from. Like spores. Exactly, suddenly you feel like you've walked into a trap. And you are the perfect person to get me those spores. She nods, rapidly. Think about it. You built the still, you're great with plants, you know the eye like the back of your hand. Need I go on? Are you flattering me? If it's working, then yes? She grins sheepishly. Look, I can't leave the bar, and the other people picking up shifts, she grimaces. I'm saying it has to be you. Fine. Wonderful. You'll love it over on the Greenway, I think. All that fresh air, open space. She sees your expression. Okay, I'm done. I'm done. She turns back to look at the still and the fledgling distillery forming around it. It really is something though, isn't it? And want to or not, you really have to agree. How many spores do you need? 3. Okay. Good grief. Let's see. Tyler has locked herself away in the back room while she focuses on distilling. She won't let anyone in or out. That's for 6 cycles. Okay. Now then. I think that's everything for the next couple of cycles. That's engineer for money. I think Peak has ever done next cycle or the cycle after? Yeah, the cycle after. Okay. We have one where we're not really doing anything, which I guess is fine. In fact, I don't mind going down to flickering here. But there is something that I know I can do, and something I haven't done yet, simply because I saw it as an achievement. So, let's steal stuff. Yay, got the achievement. Loot boxes. Okay. Alright, we're done stealing stuff, I guess. I didn't even see what I got. I think I got mushrooms and... oh, I got some scrap as well. Okay. Well, that's always nice. The scrap is always nice. In fact, it's so nice that I can get back up to stable and one more. Still need to spend this dice. Which I'll do for harvesting more spores, because of course we'll need more eventually. E. And that's another batch of mushrooms for stabilizer. Good. Peekers next cycle. So we can simply end and talk to Peek. Not great rolls. Okay, Peek, what's up? I'm gonna grab some water real quick. Just a moment. Keep that throat nice and wet. Have you heard of Khan Channel, Sleeper? Peek asks as soon as you enter the bay, as if you're in the middle of a conversation. There are heavy circles under their eyes, and you aren't sure if they've moved since you last visited. The console they are working at seems to have grown too, shadowing their slight frame in a wealth of screen and wires. KAN, you mean for transit? Yes, exactly. Peek turns to face you. Kiomani's active negation, the name of the effect used to transport trillions of tons of material from the surrogate systems of a core. You might have heard it in your physics classes. At XPR they hammered the principles into us as kids. KAN. Peek recites the definition as if in the classroom. Process of collapsing the spatial causality along the Euclidean distance between 2 points by negating mass simultaneously at both ends of a geodesic curve. Essentially, KAN channels allow for near instantaneous transport of raw materials between systems. They require huge volumes of energy, of course, and decades of construction, but once a KAN channel is established, it opens up a system for infinite exploitation. The backbone of surrogacy is what XPR called them. Peak shakes their head. They might not be able to send anything more complex than a rock through them. Complex machines and people are, shall we say, reconfigured by the process. But for raw molecularity, pure materials, Peak flicks a hand. Whoosh. Where is this going? Peak pauses. What I was trying to find out was whether the Helion system, this system, ever had a KAN channel. KAN channels are vastly expensive to build, to run. Not every surrogate system has one. Many use faction drive ships to transport their materials to this nearest hub. But Solheim, Peak smiles. Solheim spared no expense when they established the system. There's a KAN channel? Yep. Peak's eyes light up. They shut it down before the collapse. They couldn't run the sender-receiver station anymore. But it was there. It still is, as far as I can tell. Closely orbiting our star. In fact, Peak grins, they've been building to this. I'm sure it's still there, because one of the issues with KAN channels are the massive waves of exotic energy they can produce when cycling up. The flux. Exactly. Peak's face suddenly drops. Someone is starting up the channel. Why? Peak sucks in a breath. That I don't know. They start counting off information on their fingers. They'd need a lot of resources to do it, and they'd need to have people from the core systems, but there's no real large-scale extraction in Helion system anymore, so why would you go through the trouble? Just to trigger the flux? Peak rubs their red eyes. The flux, the wave the KAN effect produces, is a side effect. A problematic one, but it isn't destructive force. If it was, the core systems would never have been able to use it. So then why are the colonies collapsing because of it? Why is it chewing through systems, the kind of industrial system set up to function within the range of a once active KAN channel? Peak is getting frustrated. The moons of Ember have been terraforming since before the collapse. They would have had to deal with the flux, yet everything we have heard from the refugees says it brought down every system they had. Peak falls quiet, thinking it all through. The mind drifts too, thinking of the KAN channels, those vast casual highways that pop up in the core systems and their endless appetite for resources. This system has been quiet for decades. Solheim collapsed, most corporations gave up their claims, and apart from the Celis ships that came and began work on the sidereal horizon, no one from the core has come here in all that time. You shiver as you imagine the attention of the core, the systems of logic and exploitation that created you, created your suffering, turning towards the Helion system, a floodlight turned to this dark corner. A shrill bleep catches both of your attention, and Peak rushes to a screen, one showing a crude map of the station. On it, individual markers begin to flare up with insistent chirps. Peak looks puzzled for a moment, and then their face drops. No, they lean in close. This doesn't make any sense. What's happening? The flux nodes are appearing elsewhere on the station. Peak pulls at their hair. I set this system to alert me if other flux nodes near the epicenter of the flux event, but these are everywhere. The hub, the low end. How can this happen? The only reason we saw flux nodes here is because of the most rundown part of the station. They were barely shielded, but others appearing so far after the event? Peak turns to you. You're going to need to get me the data from these nodes, and quickly. I'll keep looking at what I have here, but I need to know why they are popping up everywhere. Right now? Right now. We can talk more about KAN channels in the system history when you back, but this needs our attention right now. Pete quickly turns back to the monitor, their eyes following scrolling screens of code, spewing from the newly fluxed nodes. You leave quickly, but struggle to shake the image of the spotlight from your mind. You feel watched as you cross back into the pilgrim seat, on your way to a shuttle bay. You hurry onward, eager to outrun the fear. What do I need? Reflux data, huh? Okay. Gun, flux node. Okay, it's a 6 and a 5. Once again, another 6 and a 5. There was one up on the hub. Might have to re-roll for it. They're all 6s and 5s. That's a 4. 4 and a 6. Alright, let's grab this one so I don't have to scroll back to it. Five and a 4, so that should be alright. Alright, let's buy some food. You take a 4. Keep earning bloody money from the interfacing things. Not exactly hurting for money at the moment, though. Speaking of hurting for money, did that scrap dealer come in yet? Yes. They did. Okay, cool. Hey, I'm going to buy a bunch of scrap. Oh yes, that's the good stuff right there. Alright. Hold off using up a stabilizer then. Ah shit, I ended the cycle. Okay. Whatever, that's a bunch of really good rolls that I can hold on to. And we've got to harvest mushrooms as well while we're at it. Hey, sorry I'm late, I misclicked. You watch as Peak works on the flux data, the nodes unfolding like flowers now, giving in to Peak's increasingly sophisticated decoding protocols. Seeing data like this as an image on a screen is an almost unrecognizable representation to you. It is nothing like swimming among nodes and threads. Despite this, Peak has proven themselves to be more than able to handle these complex data structures, even through this limited representational paradigm. The bay door hisses, interrupting your flow of thoughts. You turn to see Ish entering. Rough day? She looks up and meets your eye, but doesn't respond. Ish stalks into the bay, head down. She looks tired and not in the mood to talk. How's the weapon hunt? Peak asks without turning from their screen. Slow, unsuccessful, tedious. Ish slams a bag down on the crate and hops up to sit on it. I'm still unpicking balls of yarn. With the sleeper's help, Peak smiles. They brought me some good stuff this cycle. Maybe they could help you find the weapons you were smuggling. It's clear that Ish doesn't appreciate Peak's tone. Yeah, I'll stay out of that one. Peak holds up a hand. Shh. They lean in towards the screen. Son of a... what? They hid it in the wave of the wave. Peak is whispering to themselves. It's alive. They lean back in their chair. Ish crosses over to look at the screen. Alive? Well, it's rowing. It's processing. It's quietly working away in the dark. Look. You cross over to the screen and stand beside Ish. In it, that you can see that Peak has all 4 nodes decoded, and the pattern of shadows from it inside them sit on the screen like dark stains. Then you notice it, the movement. The thin threads cross from one stain to another. As you watch, you notice that the movement only ever happens in your peripheral vision, as if this shadow, knows it's being watched. This is how other flux nodes appeared. Peak rubs their eyes. They weren't fluxed by the wave, they were corrupted after the fact. This shadow that entered in the wake of the wave, it corrupted them, but it made the corruption look like the result of the flux. As a sleight of hand, Peak runs a hand through their hair. The flux wave is so massive, so complex, that it opens up the systems to be attacked. As it reconfigures exposed systems, this shadow is broadcasted in and planted inside. Okay, so if you were doing a large-scale EMP based off a sun station into the nearby areas, that opens up their security systems, that allows you to silently slip malware in. Sounds like something you could use to destabilize and take back a system you own. Like, screw the corporation, you could actually just, you know, militarily take it over if you wanted. Away from the KAN channel, it is a brute force way of hitting every system in Helion, once the systems are vulnerable. Peak looks pale, their eyes reflect the screens. The flux isn't what is attacking the systems, it's the siege weapon, a Trojan horse. Then this thing takes over. Peak sits back in their chair, and it's already on the eye. Wait. Ish rubs her forehead. Are you telling me there's a KAN channel in this system? Shit, Peak isn't listening. This is bad, we have to take this to somebody. Peak looks desperately at you. Helen. Is that wise? Ish cuts in. Havenage haven't exactly made good decisions lately. They're the station administrators, Ish. Peak is desperate. They need to know. The argument rages between them, and as you watch them shouting, you feel sick. After a while they stop, running out of things to say. An unsettling silence descends on the bay. I need more time, Peak says quietly. I need to look at solutions, try to build a case, collate the evidence. We mess this up, they look down at their hands. Ish goes to speak and then thinks better of it. Not a word, Sleeper, Peak meets your eye. Don't tell anyone until they are ready. They sigh. With tension among the refugees, Sol won't be ready to hear this, and Helen and Havenage are still mired in some kind of crisis. We tell Havenage they are likely to react badly, and even with the flotilla stabilized, Sol is also going to not react well to this. I need time to build a case. You are too twisted up in this, Peak, Ish says quietly. This is not our place. We don't owe... Stop, Ish. Peak slumps in their chair. Stop. You leave them like that, exhausted and troubled, and head back out to the Pilgrim Seed. When you close your eyes, you think of those shadows, that movement at the edge of your vision. Something dark growing in the station, like a parasite. You feel your vision blurs. What comes next? You stop in a corridor and take a breath, putting a hand on a rumbling metal wall. For now, the eye keeps spinning. For now. Refuge complete. Waiting for Purge coming early 2023. So at some point. Alright, let's level up and engage. Help Bliss compete. No, Bliss is gone, so I think they're supposed to stay there. You take a few more cycles to do anything. I guess I'm just growing mushrooms for a while now then. Yeah, that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep growing mushrooms for a bit. No wait, I have the spores for this. So I guess this won't be the last episode, last stream. Can always do one more when the next one comes out. Alright. Heal ourselves real quick. And we can end the cycle. I'm actually out of things to do until Tala is finished with this. Alright, there's just nothing else to do. Don't really need to put a ship mind fragment in or anything like that. I'm gonna be in a concentrated spores now anyway. So there isn't a whole lot of harm. Let's gather some scrap. There's a kitchen here that can give us some energy. I also didn't make any stabilizer, despite getting the mushrooms. Why am I like this? Yeah. I don't know if feeding the stray actually does anything anymore. I don't really care. There's a bunch of good rolls. Oh, you're still not done. Alright. Guess we'll just get a bunch of scrap while we're out here. That's a risk, but that's what it is. Now we got scrap. At the cost of energy, which is fine, because you can just eat whatever. Alright, Tala, what do you need now? Tala comes to you one shift, when the bar is emptying, tapping you on the shoulder as you clean the bar. It's ready, she is grinning from ear to ear. The Griot? Obviously, she grabs you by the arm before you can ask anything else, and drags you into the back room. The smell hits you immediately when you enter, a cocktail of rich fermentation and chemical sharpness. The room is warm and bright now. The newly installed lights making the place look clean, whether it is or not. Tala has already pulled up a couple of stools around a metal crate, where 2 glasses with a few fingers of pale Griot sit inside, waiting. She smiles. I haven't even tried it yet. You can see she is nervous. Both sit at the makeshift table, the slight strangeness of the situation making you both jumpy. Tala hands you a glass. Cheers, she says solemnly, and knocks the glass back. You do the same. The first sensation is burning, a sharp, nose-clearing blast of alcohol that has your frame querying whether you would like to activate safe mode. You gulp the drink back, and it is only then, behind the burn, that you taste the earthy tones of mushrooms, the wood and the soil, left behind like sediment, barely there. That's strong. Tala nods vigorously. Oof, that was heavy. Maybe some diluting? Tala swigs the Griot in her glass. That might work. Open it up a bit. Tala grabs the metal bottle from the newly installed work surface and adds a few drops of water to the Griot. Try again. This time the burn is a warming glow, harsh but fading off, and the woodiness less heavy. You taste something floral in amongst the marshy decay, something fresh and bright that you never expected to find. Both you and Tala meet eyes. It's really good, right? It is. Tala grins with her whole face. That makes you smile too. Tala pours some more Griot, and then adds some more water. The action's already taking on the quality of a ritual. You both drink. Tala tucks her feet up beneath her on the stool, folding her legs. She looks down to her glass and swirls the liquid thoughtfully. What's on your mind? Tala looks up, and nothing in particular. My father opened this place, you know, she says out of nowhere, a thought suddenly becoming words. It was his attempt at making a life for us, and my family, when we got to the Eye. Your family? My father, my mother, my little brother. She takes a drink. They aren't around now. Sorry. That's okay. My parents had long lives, and my brother is somewhere in the starboard belt. Ran off with a salvage crew. She puts her glass down. He's alive, as far as I know. I was just thinking about something my father told me. When he first set this place up, he wanted to call it the Bantayan, but he was kind of afraid it would scare off customers, so he kind of translated it, hence the Overlook. And these past few cycles, when I've been in here, I've been thinking that I should rename this place. She looks at you. The Bantayan. What do you think? What does it mean? Dad said he translated it to Overlook. So something like that? Watchtower maybe? Lookout? Tala picks up her glass. That settles it then. To the Bantayan. Bantayan. You both clink your glasses and drink up. Tala hisses through her teeth. Still harsh, she laughs, and suddenly grabs your shoulder. Oh, sleeper, I totally forgot. She stumbles to her feet. She lurches over to a corner of the room, covered in a plastic sheet, and whips it off, like a magician performing a trick. Beneath it is a neat little kitchen, a sink and a work surface, and a compact oven with a hob. Your kitchen. She doesn't give you time to respond. You can come make stuff here anytime, as long as you promise not to raid the mushroom farm. I need those for the griot. I was thinking too that if things pick up, we can start serving proper food at the the Bantayan. She laughs. Do you like it? It's perfect. Tala gives you a hug, then quickly stands back. I'm sorry, I'm just so glad you're here. She grins. Me too. As Tala tidies away the glasses, you inspect the kitchen, checking that it all works. It's small and salvaged, but after what you've had to put up with, it feels like a dream come true. Later, when she's done for the day, Tala comes back through to the bar, and you share a glass of good griot, the one she didn't distill. This time you talk about nothing in particular, sharing stories about regulars or discussing the best place to eat on the Eye, which, after everything that has happened, feels like a nice change of pace. When it comes time to leave, you promise to cook for Tala, and agree to let her know which shifts you'll be working in the coming cycles, and then slip out into the core of the rotunda. And in this moment, you feel at once at home. Bantayan. Hang on. Cook griot caps. What does this actually give me though? +3 energy. Okay. And the Matsutake gives me the same as well. Oh, so I don't actually have to go pay for food anymore. I can just cook stuff myself. I think that's it. That's all the content I have access to at the moment. Other than Helpless Compete, which is still up there for some reason. Not really Bliss's Bay though. I don't really want to sleep or anything. Yeah, we'll do one job. Yeah, I guess we'll just wait till the next update. Well then, thank you all for watching. Not sure which order to play stuff in next week. Kind of feeling that I just want to burst through the remainder of Northern Journey. But we'll see. Oh, thank you for watching. Bye bye. Oh, the scarf came off. Yeah, you know what, let's just put that in the trash real quick. It's nice, but it's here's the back section of it. Kind of difficult with my hoodie in the way.